I'm 74 years old, and I need to tell you something that took me most of my life to understand. Being kind nearly destroyed me. Not because kindness is wrong, it isn't. Kindness is one of the finest things a human being can be. But there is a version of kindness, a version I lived inside for decades, that has nothing to do with generosity and everything to do with fear. And that version will hollow you out, slowly, quietly, and completely, while everyone around you calls you a good person. I want you to hear this carefully, because nobody told me, and I spent 40 years paying the price for not knowing it. Here is the question I want you to sit with before we go any further. Think of the last time you said yes when every part of you wanted to say no. The last time you helped someone, not because you genuinely wanted to, but because the thought of what would happen if you didn't made you uncomfortable. The guilt, the judgment, the awkward silence, the version of yourself you didn't want to be seen as. Now ask yourself, when was the last time that happened? Last month? Last week? Yesterday? Because if the answer is recent, if that feeling is familiar, then what I'm about to say is for you specifically. And I need you to stay with me, because this is the conversation I wish someone had sat me down and had with me at 30, at 40, at any point before I was 65 and finally, painfully, understood what I had been doing to myself. I was the kind one. In every room I entered, in every relationship I had, in every group I belonged to, I was the one who helped, the one who stayed late, the one who picked up the slack, the one who said, "of course," when I meant not really, the one who absorbed other people's problems and called it compassion. And people loved me for it. They praised me for it. They called me generous. They called me selfless. They called me one of the good ones, and I believed them. I wore those words like they were the truest thing about me. Here is what I used to believe, deeply, without question. Being kind meant being available, always, to anyone who needed something. Saying no felt selfish. It felt like a failure of character, like I was announcing to the world that I only cared about myself. The people I most admired seemed to give endlessly, and I wanted to be that. I wanted to be the person others could count on, the one who never let anyone down. I believed that if I was kind enough, patient enough, giving enough, people would treat me with the same care in return. That generosity would be recognized, that my yes would be valued because people would know how much it cost me. I believed that maintaining the peace was worth almost any personal price, that if I could just keep everyone comfortable, keep the relationship smooth, avoid the friction, that was a kind of success. That was what good people did. I also believed, and this is the one that took the longest to see, that my kindness was pure, that it came entirely from love and nothing else, that there was no fear in it, no need, no desperation for approval hiding underneath the giving. I was wrong about all of it. Does any of that sound familiar? When you help someone, when you give your time, your energy, your resources, do you ever stop and ask yourself honestly, Am I doing this because I want to? Or am I doing this because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't? The moment it cracked open happened when I was 58. I had a colleague, someone I had known for nearly 15 years. We had worked together, socialized together, and I had helped him more times than I could count. Career advice, introductions, favors that cost me real time and real energy. When he needed something, I was always the first call, always available, always yes. And then I went through a period, a genuinely difficult one, business problems, financial pressure, the kind of stress that follows you into your sleep and sits on your chest in the morning. I reached out to him. Nothing dramatic, just honesty. I'm struggling. I could use some support. He was sympathetic on the phone, warm even, said all the right things. And then he became very busy. The calls became shorter, the responses slower. He had things going on. Everyone has things going on. And slowly, without any single moment of rupture, the person I had given 15 years of consistent generosity to was simply not there. I told myself it was circumstance, that he was dealing with his own pressures, that it wasn't personal. But I knew. Somewhere I already knew. I had known for years and had chosen not to look at it directly. He had never been invested in me. He had been invested in what I provided. And the moment I stopped providing, the moment I needed something in return, the investment evaporated. That realization sat in me for weeks, and then it cracked something wider open. I started looking at other relationships with the same honesty, and I began to see a pattern. I had been too comfortable, too conflict-averse, too frightened to acknowledge. There were people in my life, several of them, whose interest in me was almost entirely transactional. Not maliciously. Most of them weren't calculating or cruel. They were simply people who had learned that I would give and give and give, and who had unconsciously arranged their relationship with me around that fact. I had trained them to expect it. I had never pushed back. I had never said, "This doesn't work for me." I had never shown them a limit, so they didn't know I had one. And here is the part that is hardest to admit, the part I sat with the longest. I had allowed it. Every single time I said yes when I meant no, I taught someone that my no didn't exist. Every time I swallowed resentment and smiled and helped anyway, I reinforced the pattern. Every time I prioritized their comfort over my own honesty, I moved one step further from myself and one step deeper into a role that was slowly suffocating me. I wasn't just being used, I was participating in it. And understanding that, truly understanding it, not as a way to blame myself, but as a way to see clearly, was the beginning of something different. What pattern have you been reinforcing? In which relationships have you trained people to expect something from you that costs you more than you can afford? When did your yes stop meaning anything, even to yourself? Let me tell you what it cost me, not what happened, what it actually cost. It cost me my energy. For decades I operated at a level of chronic depletion that I had normalized so thoroughly I didn't even recognize it as depletion. I thought I was just a person who was always a little tired, always a little stretched, always managing slightly more than felt comfortable. I didn't understand that the drain had a source, that I was pouring out consistently and replenishing almost never, because asking for what I needed felt like the very selfishness I had spent my whole life trying not to be. It cost me my honesty, not in the obvious ways. I wasn't a dishonest person in most senses of the word, but in the small, daily, accumulating ways. Every unsaid no, every managed smile over a real feeling, every time I told someone I was fine when I wasn't, every time I performed kindness when what I actually felt was exhausted and resentful and quietly furious. That gap between what I showed and what I felt widened over years into something I could feel as a physical weight. It cost me real intimacy. Because the version of me that people knew, the endlessly giving, always available, never needing version, wasn't entirely real. It was a performance, a very consistent, very well-intentioned performance. And you cannot be truly known if what you're showing people is a performance. You can be liked, you can be needed, you can be praised, but you cannot be known. And some of the relationships I most wanted to be real weren't, couldn't be, because I had never let them be. Now I want to speak to you directly, and I want you to be honest with yourself, not with me, with yourself. Is there someone in your life right now who takes more than they give? Not a little more, significantly more. Someone whose needs consistently come before yours in your own relationship with them. Someone you feel anxious around, not because they're threatening, but because you're always managing, always careful, always giving just enough to keep the peace. How long has that been going on? And here is the harder question. Are you staying in that dynamic because you genuinely want to, or because you don't know how to leave it without feeling like a bad person? Because that feeling, that terror of being seen as selfish, unkind, difficult, that is exactly the mechanism that keeps the pattern running. That guilt is not your conscience telling you that you're wrong. That guilt is a habit, a deeply worn groove, and it belongs to a version of you that was taught somewhere along the way that your needs were less important than other people's comfort. Who taught you that? And are you still living by their rules? Kindness that comes from fear is not kindness. It is self-abandonment with a generous name. Here is what I know now at 73, after all of it. Real kindness, the kind worth giving, the kind that actually helps people and doesn't slowly destroy you, comes from fullness, not depletion. It comes from a person who has enough self-respect, enough boundaries, enough honesty about what they can genuinely give without resentment and what they cannot. A person who says yes and means it completely, not because they're afraid of the no, but because the yes is real. That kind of kindness is rare, and it is only possible when you stop confusing being good with being available. when you stop measuring your worth by how much you can carry for other people, when you understand, really understand, not just intellectually, but in the way you make daily decisions, that a yes which costs you your peace is not generosity. It is a slow leak, and slow leaks left unaddressed eventually empty everything. Now, am I telling you to stop being kind? No, absolutely not. Am I telling you to become suspicious of everyone who needs something from you? No. What I am telling you is this: there is a difference, a crucial, life-defining difference between kindness that flows from choice and kindness that flows from compulsion. Between helping because you want to and helping because you can't bear the discomfort of not helping. Between generosity and people-pleasing. Between compassion and self-erasure. And learning to tell the difference in the moment, in your body, before you answer, is one of the most important skills a human being can develop, because nobody teaches it. It isn't praised the way giving is praised. Setting a limit doesn't get you called one of the good ones. Saying no rarely earns you admiration. But it might save your life, not dramatically, slowly, the way all important things happen, one boundary at a time, one honest answer at a time, one relationship at a time, where you show up as yourself rather than as the version of yourself that other people find most useful. Here is the warning I needed someone to give me at 35. The people in your life who are genuinely for you, who love you, who respect you, who actually see you, those people will not leave when you start saying no. They will adjust. They may be surprised at first. They may need a moment, but they will stay, because their investment in you was never purely about what you provide. The ones who leave when you stop giving endlessly, who cool, who withdraw, who suddenly have less time for you, they are telling you something important. Not that you did something wrong, that the relationship was always primarily about your output. And letting that information land, letting yourself see it clearly, without excusing it or softening it, is not bitterness. It is clarity. And clarity, even when it's painful, is the beginning of building something real. So here is what I want you to do this week. Just one thing. The next time someone asks something of you, and you feel that familiar pull, that reflexive movement toward yes, before you've even checked in with yourself, pause. Just pause. 2 seconds. And ask yourself honestly, do I want to do this? Or do I just not want to deal with the consequences of not doing it? That pause, that question, that 2 seconds of honesty with yourself, start there. That is where it changes. Because I am 73, and I spent 40 years being endlessly kind to people who mistook my fear for love. And I would give a great deal to have learned earlier that the most important person I needed to be kind to was myself. If this reached something in you today, share it with someone who gives too much and never admits it. Leave a comment below. Tell me, when did you last say no and feel good about it? And if you want more of these conversations, the ones nobody else is willing to have, stay around. There is more to say.